So, Boon Siong, understand that at Align Group, you guys have built a community called Bosses Learning Circle. So, whereby you have business owners from various industry in Singapore gathered together for events, probably a drink in your whiskey bar. They recently opened. Yeah, so I'm sure you have heard at least a couple of them actually talk about reducing manpower due to the drop of sales and uncertainty ahead. So I would like to ask, like, when should one actually make the decision on cutting manpower, or is there any better alternative?
Sure. I think, first of all, we have to have a very honest assessment of our own financial runway. Okay. So how long can you last? Assuming worst case scenario, that means that there's no revenue coming at all. How long can you really last? Okay. And whether you're willing to take loan to continue to cover it, or like some companies, what they do is they went on hibernation. So they just close everything and then just go hibernate and then wait for the spring to come. Of course, I don't recommend the second method, but again, it really depends on individual business owners. So you need to be very clear about your financial runway and be decisive when it comes to triggering those actions. Procrastinating it, delaying it for fear of don't know how to communicate with your people or don't know how to do it right. All these things are not good excuses to delay. So you have to be very decisive on that. General rule of thumb is retrenchment should be last resort unless you're really running out of money and you don't foresee that your business will pick up after this. Okay, because it would never hurt you beyond current cycle. I think you go into what we call a vicious cycle of a negative culture, and your people will start to think about themselves more than ever. So I think this, I won't say it's anything wrong, but consider that as a last resort if you really need to. Okay, all right. But what can you do in the meantime? So there's a slew of other methods one can consider. Probably you have thought about it. So one is actually, it depends on what you foresee in your business. If you foresee that your business, once this whole episode over, you need to pick up because there's a pent-up demand, like what happened in SARS in 2003. So many event companies, they get stuck for 6 months, but the moment that the whole thing is lifted, suddenly everybody goes for it. So for those companies that anticipate this type of outcome, then you can consider, for example, let your staff clear their annual leave for now. All right. So later on when you need them, they don't go away. Very fair. Or if really like you're running restaurants or really running some outlets where, like for example in Singapore, let's say you're running a spa and you can not have any customer anymore, and you know clearly that they can't do anything at home. So then you can consider what we call no pay leave as well. All right. Of course, the other thing is generally companies, when you look at a financial runway, they look into what we call pay reduction. Generally, our recommendation is that keep it in a tiered format. So starting from the top, and usually the top will have the highest cut, and then as you trickle down. We will still say that generally apply to everyone so that everyone is in the same ship. If at the lowest level, if you feel that the staff is really surviving, keep the cut to minimum, but I'll still say even with $10, $20 be a gesture, so that will be helpful as well. The whole thing is that you want to put everyone in the same boat. And finally, there's also this strategy called job redeployment. So people move their staff to different roles, readapt them, send them for training. I think in Singapore itself, we are fortunate because I think when we send for training, there is certain fee being paid. Okay, the cost is subsidized, and some of the redeployment of jobs actually, company can also get some salary grant support as well. So some company will use this more creative method to lower their costs. Yeah. Right. But before I end, maybe I'll just say that the key point is that in this whole process, in your decisions, keep an open communication. Okay, communication is the most important aspect of it. Yeah, in fact, in the line group, what we do is that our whole team meet every morning like this. We meet every morning. So communication is very critical at this juncture, not only to keep things moving, but also I think to sustain our own sanity, in mental well-being. So, yeah.
Yeah. So no more shopping malls for everyone. No more parks also, right? All right. Thank you. So we know at the current state, there's no such things as business as usual. So as pointed out by the speakers over here. So this is not forever, but definitely it is on survival mode for most of the people right now. So my question to Paddy is, as an entrepreneur, which aspect of the business model would you suggest us to look at to ensure business continuity?
Okay, yeah, good question. So I see that there are actually three parts of it. First and foremost, if you are the employer, the founders or the owner, you have to be very, very realistic. That if you're talking about business continuity, are we talking about the business itself? Because usually when you're the owner, the business is equal to you. Or if you are the basically, literally, it's actually, everything is all about you, lah. I mean, if you are talking about privately owned, not the, I'm not talking about listed company, lah. I think this is one aspect of it, is that if you are the owner yourself, when you talk about business continuity, then you have to realistically ask, when you talk about this, are you talking about the survivor is only you? Okay, that means, are you okay to let go your employees just to make sure that this is what we know as the business continuity? I think this is a very practical question that every business owner have to ask yourself. That means, are there any other way that you have sort of exhausted before you actually let go employees, or before you start slice and dice your businesses? So this is one thing that any owner has to ask themselves sooner or later. As much as we can try to delay the burning of the cash, delay in probably sales or collecting money or whatever. End of the day, if you're the owner, you have to be very realistic that if it comes to this point, what's next? Okay, because my understanding is that some of my clients that we work with, the very first thing that they told us was that, okay, my company is in trouble, not because we don't have sales, but it's just that we cannot sell. Okay, why? Because we are considered as not essential. And in order to be essential business, then of course, naturally, you can hire the people, go back to the factories and do whatever is necessary. But when it comes to this situation where it's non-essential, you definitely need productions, you need things to run, and they can't. So when that is happening, meaning that your renters, everything is going to be pay for it. So when that comes to situations, you may have project financing, you may have a loan. So when it comes to that, you have to ask yourself realistically, as an owner, are you going to let go a lot of other things just to save that business? Okay. Then the other aspects of it is that your employees, because why? Not all the employees are able to enjoy that a boss actually continue to pay them salary. So let's say a blue collar executive versus a white collar executive. A blue collar executive, if they don't do work, they probably won't get paid, or they are probably paid the very minimum, where a lot of them actually makes money probably from the OT that they have been working and running for years. So if a factory stops or production floor stops, that means they may be getting only the basic. But end of the day, to them is that, okay, they are stuck. Why? Because they may not even have enough money, may not have even sufficient money to even cover rent. I think this is a very realistic, especially here in Singapore, where our cost of living is really one of the highest in the world. Okay, so if that is a situation, then there will be very realistic questions that the employees will have to ask themselves. Can you continue this way? Okay, I think this is much more worse if you happen to be an employee who is actually on the work permit, because it's not so much simple as quick and then that's it. Okay, because you may be a foreigner that is working here, so you get stuck with that kind of situations. Or even if there are situations like you may be a white collar executive, but you as a white collar executive, you tend to look into things like, okay, I may be paid, but should I continue to look for other jobs? I may be working for my boss now, I may be working for my company now. Should I continue with this? Because for all I know, I mean, I'm not blind. As an employee, I can probably see that the sales are actually slowing down. So if it happens to be the mid-management, or you happen to be the sales, or you happen to be the support team, then naturally you will probably be able to count, okay, if this thing gonna last another 3 months, will the company survive? If the company doesn't survive, what's next for me? Because I may be married with 2 kids and families to take care of. Then the third part is it comes back to one very big question here is, you still have a lot of things that you need to pay for, even if your businesses stops, like rental, your vehicles, all the utilities, all the power bills, everything, loans, your project financings, all these are still money. And all these are, I mean, as much as the bank can be very nice to you when they borrow you the money, I mean, usually, I mean, this is my perspective. Banks will usually lend you the money, not when you most need it. It's probably when you have the capability to return. Okay, then that's how they can finance it. But then again, realistically speaking, is that these are the people that will probably come after you. So if let's say you somehow you manage to survive for the 3 months, 6 months, then the question here is that you have to ask, is it worth it? Because the damages to your business, it may actually be best that you actually shut it down and have whatever balance that you have, actually make a compensations and then move on, rather than you continue it 6 months, 9 months later, the banks are all going to come after you because right, somehow, somewhere, the businesses that you used to run may not exist anymore 6, 9 months down the road. I mean, this is I just want to be as practical as possible, because our business continuity is not something like, let's just I mean, in Singaporeans we have this thing called tahan a bit. Okay, there's a saying, you just hold on to it as long as you can. But if it comes back to a bigger damages, you may not even have money to pay your debtors. You may not have money to pay your creditors. Sorry, I mean the other way around. You may not even have money to pay your salaries to the employees or pay whatever renters, and then you yourself get yourself into a deeper trouble. So that is actually a spiral effect that may actually be happening. So I guess in terms of business continuity, you probably have to look into these 3 things.
I think can I add on that Paddy's point?
Sure.
I think business owners, entrepreneurs tend to have this thing called optimism. So I think they need to be very mindful and do a reality check about their own optimism. Are they still too optimistic? You know, because sometimes the blind optimism can actually kill you as well. Yeah, I just want to add on that. Thanks.
Right. Thank you.